Hello everyone, welcome back. We are in day 12 of Azure DevOps with Terraform series, or 28 days of Azure Terraform, and we'll be starting with where we left off in the last video. In the last video we were doing assignments related to Azure functions. We did 4 of those and we'll be covering rest of those in this video, so I'm not gonna waste any time further in introducing myself or anything. But make sure, if you are new here or if you are starting right just from this video, make sure you do the previous video before this, because this is just a continuation to what we have done so far. Okay, so let me share my screen and let's start with this. So we did till 4 assignments. Fifth one is around function, which is lookup. Lookup is really important function and we use it on like quite a lot when working with Terraform. Okay, so the scenario is we have to implement environment configuration mapping with fallback values. What do you mean by that? Like, let's say you have three available environments: dev, stage, prod, and so on. So if the environment selected is dev, then this machine type should be used. If the environment staging is selected, this machine type should be used, and so on. Like earlier we were doing, remember when we were using conditional expression, we were using normal like if else type of condition in the name itself, but then it won't work, or it won't be a good idea to use that if we have multiple conditions, if we have multiple key value pair in a map, right? So that's why we use a lookup function, which works similarly, but it is more efficient than that. So what we have to do, we have to, as you can see, it is a key value pair, and that means we have to fetch the value from it and process the data. So we'll be implementing a environment map. Okay, then we'll implement lookup with fallback. What do we mean by fallback? That means if there is no environment selected, then a default environment should be selected. Let's suppose dev. Okay, and then we have to create the output variables and handle invalid environment names. That means if user have entered anything other than these environment, then it should throw the validation error. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. So I'm gonna go back to my Visual Studio Code, and this is what we did so far till the previous video. So first let's go to variable and create the variable. Okay, so I'm gonna create two variables, one for the mapping of environment with the VM size what's been given, and another one for the environment variable itself. Okay, so let's create variable, let's call it environment. Okay, and type is string, description like environment name. All right, now we have to do the validation as well, so that no one can use any other environment than dev, staging, and prod. Okay, so for that what we can do is we can add a validation condition over here. So it starts with validation, and inside the curly braces we add condition. Okay, condition is what condition we are checking over here? We are checking then environment variable, like whatever we are using, whatever we have used, should contain either of the values. So it's so we have will be providing the array in a list format. So dev, okay, or staging, or prod. Okay, and then we have to provide a default lookup value, because you see it says contains function has two arguments. One is the list, which is what we have given. The second is the value. Okay, so value is like what value will be providing. Okay, so what value, like where are we checking this condition? We'll be checking this in, say, var dot environment. Okay, and then it is still throwing the error because it contains one more field. So if you hover my mouse over here, you see it required the attribute error message as well. So I'm gonna go over here and enter error message. Error messages enter the valid value for environment. Okay, so this is done. This is our environment variable. Now next is the map for VM size. So let's call it variable VM sizes, or yeah, let's just use VM sizes for now. Okay, and inside that we have to provide a type. Type is a map. Okay, map of string, and then we have default. Default has like 3 values, so we can take it from here. I'll just copy it. Okay, and then these will be 3 values. Let's separate them with comma, and I'm gonna remove the extra spaces. Okay, so we have created the VM sizes map as well. Now let's go back to our main.tf. Okay, and we have not created a resource for virtual machine, so you can create that and use that inside that, or like just for the demo I'll show you about the variable manipulation only. Okay, so for that let's create a local. Where are my locals? Okay, over here. Let's create a new local. Do we need a local? Wait. Yeah, we don't need a local because we have already done, we have already specified the environment variable in the variables file. Okay, so let's go to, or okay, yeah, we do need a local because we need to do the check for, we need to perform the lookup function, right? Okay, so let's create a local with the name VM size. Okay, is equal to, and lookup. Inside lookup will provide var dot VM sizes. Okay, so here we have to do the lookup, and which value do we need? We need var dot environment. Okay, so if you see the syntax of it, first is input map, which is dynamic, then is the key string, what we are looking into the input map. Okay, so we are looking the value of, let's say, dev in the VM sizes. Okay, and then a default value. So if it does not work, then let's say default value, let's call it lower dev, that means in the lowercase dev. Okay, now this is VM size, and now let's print this value in the output variable over here. Output VM size, or VM size we have already used. Okay, let's use it, and then value is equal to local dot VM size. Okay, now we have not provided a value, so it should take dev as the default value. Let's see. Okay, it's not taking any value because var.environment has not been initialized with the default value. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a new file over here, or inside the variables.tf. Over here you can provide a default value. So default is equal to dev. Okay, one and the same thing. Now I'm gonna run tf plan. Okay, now it took standard D2S v3 for VM size, and if we check that from our variable standard D2S v3, which is for dev. Okay, now if we create a new file inside the day 11 folder, terraform dot tfvars, and give environment is equal to, let's say, prod, then it should change the machine size according to the environment value. Okay, so now VM size should come as, now it was D2S v3, now it is D8S v3, which is what is specified for prod. And what if we provide any other value than a dev, staging, or prod? Let's say prods, something like that, some invalid value. Okay, let's run a tf plan, and now it is throwing the validation error. You see, it says invalid value for the variable var.environment is prod, enter the valid value for environment. This is the error message that we have printed. Okay, so it did a validation check from its side. Okay, so that was for the fifth assignment, which is lookup. Now next go to the next one, which is VM size validation. Now the VM size that we have used, now there is another validation that we have to use, that length should be between 2 to 20 characters and it must contain standard keyword. Okay, now again we have to do the validation check, but this time we'll be using a contain function to make sure that the string contains standard as the string, and we'll also be checking the length of the characters for that string. Okay, so these two will be doing, and again you can pause the video or you can copy, you can follow along with me. Okay, so I'm gonna copy a default value from here for our environment variable, and I'll also copy the invalid value, but we'll see that later on. So let's go to our VS Code over here. In the variables.tf, I'm gonna create a new variable and name it VM size. Okay, and inside that it's of type string, and there is a default value, which is what I have copied. Okay, now we have to add the condition in that this name, VM size name, it should not be greater than 20 characters, and the other condition was it should have the keyword standard in it. Okay, that means all other type of machines are not allowed. So I'm gonna add a validation like what we did earlier, and inside this validation, now if I have to check the length of the characters in the string, how do we do that? uh, Take a moment of pause and then think about it. We have done it before. Okay, so it's gonna be length function, right? So I'm gonna use a condition with length function. Okay, and then vm dot vm size. Okay, I'm gonna check the length of this string, and the length should be greater than equal to 2 characters, and so I'm gonna use the AND operator, and length of vm dot vm size should be less than equal to 20 characters, right? So I'm just checking it that it should be between 2 and 20 characters, and then if that is not the case, error message that the vm size should be between 2 and 20 characters. Okay, that's the error message. Now I have to add another validation, so add another validation like this, and now we have to check the standard keyword. Okay, so condition, and I'm gonna do contains. This is what we have used earlier, but this will also fail, and I will tell you why in a bit, but first I want you to see why it will fail. Okay, so let's check the condition which says contains in the lowercase for VM size, and the string that we are looking for is standard. Okay, and error message is the VM size should contains standard. Okay, now I have to provide I have provided a default value to the VM size. So let's, instead of doing that, let's create a value over here. VM size is equal to standard. First I'll go with the correct value, right? So tf plan, and it says the condition for variable VM size must refer to VM size in order to test incoming value. What does that mean? Instead of var I have written VM dot, so another mistake that I did. So let's go back and let's change it, var dot and var dot. Okay, over here is fine. Now let's do it again. Okay, it says validation error. Now this is what I wanted you to see. It says call to function contains failed argument must be list, tuple or set. That means contain function does not work on string, so we are running contains on a string. So for string there is a separate function and it's called str contains. Okay, rest everything should be same. Now it will work. Okay, it did not throw any error, and this is what we are getting. But let's go back over here and let's make some changes. Instead of this, let's add some characters, make it fail for the validation. Okay, and also let's remove the standard keyword from it. All right, now let's run the plan and see if it is throwing the error or not. Okay, so it says VM size should contain standard. That's the first validation. Another one is VM size should be between 2 and 20 characters. Okay, so this is what we wanted to see, and this is what we have tested. So our assignment number 6 is also completed. Now let's go to the next one, which is backup configuration. Okay, so for this as well, again, I'm gonna create two variables. Again, this is more of a checking and doing the validation on the variables, and we'll be using what functions we'll be using, endswith and sensitive. Sensitive is something that we have not seen so far, so let's see how it works. So let's create two variables in variables.tf. Variable backup, what was the name? Backup name. Okay, and the other one is variable credential. Okay, now let's check this first. So default is, let's give it a default value xyz123 or whatever you want to give, and this is of type string because it could have anything. Now we need to make sure that these credentials are sensitive, meaning the values should not print somewhere on the console, right? So for that, we just have to add this keyword which says sensitive equal to true. By default it is false, so sensitive equal to true. And let's go with the backup name. So backup name should end with hyphen backup, right? So let's give it a default value, test hyphen backup, and then this is again of type string. And now we'll add the validation for it. What validation? We'll add a condition which checks ends with. Okay, ends with what? Ends with hyphen backup, comma. Actually it's the other way around. So it says first string, a string to check, and then the suffix. So this is the substring. So first is var dot backup name, comma backup, and I'll remove this one. This is the condition, and error message is backup should ends with front backup. Okay, now how do we test this? Let's go to main.tf and create the output variable. That's the easiest way of test this. So I'm gonna add output, let's call it backup, and value should be var dot, no, value should be var dot backup name. The other one is output and credentials. We need to make sure that credentials are not exposed, although this is not the way we actually use credential with Terraform. But for just this demo purpose, I'm going to show you how to make sure that Terraform does not expose the credentials. So value should be var dot credential. Let's see. Okay, TF plan. Okay, it says, okay, this is the validation. It says to reduce the risk accidentally exporting sensitive data that was intended to be internal. If you intend to export this data, annotate the output value as sensitive by equal to true, because we have passed the variable as sensitive. That means it is expecting the value to also be passed as sensitive in the output variable. So over here, let's use sensitive equal to true. And now if we see, Okay, so it says backup name is this. Backup should end with hyphen backup. I have given, sorry, it should be underscore backup. I have given hyphen backup. Okay, so that's why it is throwing the error, which is true, like it should throw the error. And for credential, let's see, where is the output variable for credential? It did not do the check or what? Okay, over here you see it says credential equal to sensitive value because it is sensitive, we marked it as sensitive. Now if we want to do variables.tf and like let's change it to, oh no, this is correct. Okay, let's change it to underscore backup. Now if we run it, it should not throw the that validation error now. Okay, now here is our backup, which is test backup. Credential is sensitive value. Okay, so this was the assignment number, which one was it? 7. Let me just mark it over here. Assignment 7. Okay, now let's go to assignment number 8. Okay, next is validate Terraform configuration path. So it says validate these paths. So there'll be a config folder inside your root directory, and then there'll be main.tf and variables.tf. And then create path validation function, which will validate that yes, these are valid path, this is the file that exists. If you are like following the structure that I have followed till now, so I did not create any config folder, so it should be in your root directory. So make sure you change the file path accordingly. And then you have to extract the directory name, handle missing files if there is any file missing, and create the status output, right? So you need to use a function called, let's see, inside over here, file system function. You will be using this one, file exist, and I guess just file exist should be good enough for this one. Yeah, so try to use that function. And why I'm saying try to use that, because I want you to try it out and let me know if you face any issues. So I'll be moving ahead with the next one now. Okay, so in this one, we'll be using toset and concat function. So it is scenarios to manage unique resource location. So let's say we have two lists. First list has user location with the string as East US, West US, and East US. East US is there twice. And then the default location, another string, another list with the value as Central US. Now what we have to do, we have to combine the location list. We have to combine these two into one single list. So we'll be using concat function for that. Then we have to also remove the duplicates. How do we remove the duplicates? By converting this list into a set. If you remember, when we were looking into type constraint, we saw the difference between list and set is that set only contains unique values. However, list can contain duplicate values, as you can see over here. So this is how we will remove the duplicates and then create the local location validation. How do we do that? You can do that with the validation string again, like the way we did. So it should be either of those, or it should contain US or whatever you want to do. Okay, so let's go to our VS Code and where we are. Okay, not this one. This is what I have tested already. So let's go over here in the locals. Okay, and I'm gonna create two local over here. Okay, yeah, my file is getting bigger and bigger. So like you can use like these single files that I have used or single folder, or you can separate each assignment with the different folder, whatever feel comfortable with you. Okay, so let's create a local user locations, and it should have the value as East US and West US and East US again. Okay, now another local would be default location. Then over here, let's just add only one with Central US. Okay, and now let's add one more local with the name unique location. In the unique location, what I've told you, like first we have to concatenate these two, right? So concat local dot user location comma local dot default location. Okay, and now it will just concatenate it, but it will not give you the unique values. To get the unique value, you have to wrap this around another function, which is toset. So we are converting a list into set. We are changing the type constraint of it. So this is how you will get the unique location. Okay, now unique location, you can print it output, and name is, let's call it unique location, and the value is local dot unique location. Let's see, df plan. Okay, where it is, I only see three outputs, actually three changed output, but where, okay, here it is, sorry. So central US, east US, west US. So it removed the duplicate value and it concatenate both of the lists together in a set. So now this is a set. Awesome. Now let's go to the next one. Let me add it over here. Where was it? Okay. This is assignment number, was it 8 or 9? 9, I guess. Okay, let's go back and let's check the next one, which is cost calculation. So let's say you have been provided a list of numbers. You need to convert the negative values to positive. Okay, and you have to find maximum cost out of it, and you have to calculate average. So we'll be using absolute function, we'll be using the max function to do that. Okay, so let's create another local assignment 10. What we need to do, we'll create first then a list, like what has been given over here with monthly cost. Okay, let's just copy it and paste it over here. Now we have to do two operations on it. One is to return all the positive numbers, and the other is to find out the maximum number, or you can find the minimum as well, whatever you want. So let's add one more local with the name positive cost. And how do we calculate the positive cost? So we need to check that the absolute value of all the elements in the list. So how do we check all the elements? We need to use a for loop for that. Okay, so inside the square bracket, for cost in, right, local dot monthly cost. Monthly cost is what we are checking over here. Monthly cost, costs. And then what value do we need? We need absolute value, so abs of cost. Okay, so this will return you the absolute cost. That means it will return 50, 100, 75, and 200. It will change all the negative value to the positive value. Now the next one is maximum, so max cost out of all of these. So just use max local dot positive cost. From the positive, from this value, we'll be checking out the max cost. Okay, so let's go down, create one more output variable, output, and name this max cost. So max cost is, oh, this bracket over here. Max cost's value is local dot max cost, and another output variable with the name as positive. So value should be local dot positive cost. Okay, and let's root Terraform plan. By the way, you can use variables as well instead of local, whatever you want. Okay, it says invalid value for numbers, parameter number required while calling max numbers. It says local positive cost is a tuple with 4 elements, and we cannot use the function over here. Which one is max cost? Okay, let's see. I guess it is throwing the error with max. Have we used the correct syntax for it? Because now, where was it? Okay, so over there, let's see. It says max takes one or more number and return the greatest number from the set. It has to be a set. Let's go and see the documentation for max. Like max 1254 yeah, this we have already tested. If the number are in a list of set, then we have to use 3 dots to expand the collection to individual argument. Okay, so this is what we have missed, right? So if there are just the numbers, you can do it like this, but if it is a list or set, then you have to use 3 dots at the very end to expand it. So over here, 1 2 3. Okay, let's see it now. All right, so it says here is the positive, so it converted -50 to +50. And where is the other one? Max cost is 200, which is correct based on these values. Okay, so assignment number 10 is also done. Now let's go to 11. Where is the 11? Okay, 11 is timestamp management. So we'll be using timestamp and format date function. This is again some function that we use quite a lot in Terraform. So what we need to do is we have to create two tags, resource name and tags, create timestamp generation, format for different use, implement validation, and create formatted output. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, I'm just gonna write assignment 11, this one, yeah, 11. Okay, so we'll be creating locals again. Let's call it resource tag or resource name, whatever you want to call it, and then tag date. Now we need to take the resource name from, like, we need to get the current timestamp first, right? So that it can we can format the time and we can make some operations on it, right? So we'll be using a function called timestamp. Okay, so timestamp, this is how I will call it, but then we have to assign this value generated from this function to some variables. So current time is equal to timestamp. Okay, now current time has the current timestamp value. Okay, because the current time that we get, I guess it's in some format that we cannot use directly, so it will return a UTC timestamp string in this format, right? So we have to like, we can make changes to it, we can format it as per our needs and requirements. Okay, so we use format date function for that, another important function. So how it works is you provide a format like in yymmdd, right, something like that. So let's say yy, like year, complete year 2025 or 2024, and then mmdd, and then comma the time that you need to convert to a format, which is in the current time. So local dot current time. Okay, the same way you can make the changes in this one, form tag date. So format date, and then now let's use a different format, dd yy. Okay, with the hyphen, and again local dot current time. Okay, so this is how we got our time. Now we can use this value from local, like resource name, in front of our resources or in like tags over here, like, so that we know when this resource was created. Like for example over here, let's say let's add a tag over here, which was local.merge tag. Instead, we can, I guess, create a map out of it. Okay, no, let's not make the changes over here because we are already using multiple values. So let's make the changes somewhere else. Tags equal to, we are already using a map. How do we use another map? Let's see over here. It's okay. I mean, you can figure it out later on. That's not something that we should be worrying right now. We have done it a lot of time. So let's just create an output variable with either of those timestamps. Let's say resource tag. Okay, and value should be local dot tag date, or the other one, whatever you want. Now run tf plan. Where is the value? Oh, strange. Did I use the correct one? Tag date. Okay. Resource tag. Okay, it says known after apply. Maybe this is something that will be generated afterwards once, I don't know. Let's try the other one, which was local dot what was the name of tag date? We have seen resource name. Was that it? Tag date and resource name. Okay, let's see. Yeah, maybe this timestamp function, it gets executed once you run the Terraform apply, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's true. So it says known after apply, so that's okay, right? So once you apply the changes, you will feel it, or like I'll apply the changes afterwards and make sure it is there. So finally, the last one, I guess. Yeah. So we need to securely handle file content. Read from config.json, mark content as sensitive, handle file error, validate JSON structure, and so on. Okay. Okay. So you can create a JSON file over here. Okay. And then do the validation. So I'll show you the validation and then you can add the file and do the testing by yourself. So inside locals, we'll create another one, assignment 12. This is the last one. So let's create config content, and then which is loaded from the file, let's say config.json in the root directory. Okay, so this is the file and we need to make sure that the file content is marked as sensitive. So we'll use another function called sensitive over here, right? And now when you go at the end and use an output variable, right, let's say config loaded, and then you add the value to it. Okay, so you have to make sure that it is JSON encoded. So let's do first local dot content config and then use a function called JSON decode. Okay, let's see what it will do. Over here it should be in file, or I guess it should be inside encoding function. Okay, JSON encode. Oh, we are using JSON decode. So it says JSON decode interprets a given string at JSON, returning a representation of the result decoding that string. Okay, so let's say if you are printing this field over here, which says like it's in like the JSON format, it will print it like this. Okay, and if you are running a JSON decode function on any string, it will return that value if it is true. Okay, so this is why we are using it over here, and make sure this field is non-sensitive so that you can print the content of it. Okay, now make sure you create a JSON and test it out yourself and let me know how are the results. And we have covered everything. I guess there was one assignment that I left for you. I guess it was file processing path, because I didn't feel like creating files and testing it out. So maybe you can do that. Okay, and yeah, we have done a lot of assignments. We have covered almost many important Terraform functions, and we did more than we needed to do as a beginner. So give yourself a pat on the back. You have done a pretty tremendous job completing all those things. And that's it for this video. In the next video, what do we have in the next video? Let's see. In the next video, I believe 11, 12, 13. Okay, the next will be video number 13, in which will be actually creating the Azure resources. Like, we'll be creating virtual machine skill sets, NSG, and so on. So stay tuned for that. I will see you soon. Make sure you complete all the assignments, get your hands dirty with the Azure functions in Terraform, and you will feel really happy about it. So thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon. Bye bye.